Hello there. Today I'm going to talk about the SkyX, and they just released a July 29th, 2016 edition that actually has quite a bit of changes in it. It's very, very nice. I'm actually at the Kit Peak Visitor Center inside the 20-inch dome, and I do want to say be sure to visit the Kit Peak Visitor Center website and check out our night observing programs and our overnight programs. They are very, very popular, and it's really a spectacular thing to do. Let's go ahead and bring up the SkyX. And this is how we have it configured. You notice that the constellation colors are changed. They're all red. And it's just the way we did it. You'll notice over here on this right side, we put some navigation bars over here. This is not their default position. I always like to click up because I like to see the sky as it pointing, looking directly north. That's just me, or looking straight up. One of the changes they did here, which is really nice, is these are the tabs that used to be here, and they're still here. The coloring is much nicer. I believe I've not looked into the camera interface, but it looks like they've made quite a bit of improvements here. One thing I do like is the fact that they separated the filter wheel out in its own little tab. That's really nice. They also have these icons for quick jumping, like if I want to just jump right to the telescope. It's pretty much easy to do. Here we have a pointing model, a pretty extensive one, several hundred points. There's an automated way of doing this, and it doesn't take very long. It takes several hours. But once it's done, you turn on Pro Tracking. The software BIS mount turns into magic. It works very, very well, actually. So, okay, so the first thing you want to do is power on the mount. And when you do, it will not know where it is. So when we connect, it's going to go to a home position. Let me get into the telescope setup just quickly for a minute here. This is where you set up the mount. You choose the mount you have, the COM ports, and all that other stuff. And there's other options here that you can set as well to your liking. I'm not going to get into this too much. I have another video that I get into this more on my YouTube channel. Okay. So I'm at a couple ways of connecting. I can actually go to that telescope and connect the telescope here, or I can actually go into the telescope menu and do it from here, and that's what I'm going to do. So once you've connected, the first thing it's going to do, it's going to say, oh, well, it's not home. Would you like to find the home position? Well, that's very important. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes. And while it's doing that, I'm going to talk about what home means. So the mount knows the latitude and longitude where it's at. What it doesn't know is where it is in the sky. This homing sensor it points it to a particular spot in the sky that tells the mount, this is where I am. Once it's here, then it can knows how to navigate through the sky and point accurately, especially with a pointing model in place. So for example, say you're using this telescope during a program, and all of a sudden the power goes out, the mount might hit a ladder, which it should never do. Anything like that. Well, all you have to do is, if it loses communication, close the Sky software, turn off the power to the mount, wait 15 seconds or so, turn the power back on, start the Sky software, and tell it to go home again. That's all you have to do. Once you've done that, you're good to go, and you can resume working with the software from where you left off. Now it's actually homing still because we have the acceleration and deceleration set a bit slow. We have an RCOS 20-inch on this, and we found that that actually helps. We also decrease the slew speed a little bit. Okay, so after it's homed, it's going to show you something like this. This yellow icon is where the telescope's pointing. Now again, I like to see the sky like this. That's just me. And now we're ready to navigate around the sky. Okay, one easy way to do it is just click the star and go. So if I click on this star, I can click on the star and actually right click on it and say slew. This is one way of doing it. Now when you do that, by default it usually asks, do you want to slew now? We turn that off here, so it just goes ahead and goes there. Now if you want to get some information about the telescope, about the star, not the telescope, you can come into the Find tab. Let's say that again since it was moving. So in the Find tab, you have all this information, and it's pretty extensive. It tells you the name of the star, the magnitude, the RA index, the azimuth, the altitude, all kinds of information. That's even the constellation it's in. It's extremely valuable. You'll also notice that there are some other catalogs here that are associated with this target. Okay, now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and use the find again, but this time we're going to do it a little differently. So we're actually going to type in the object. So say we're going to go M81. We could hit enter, or we could just click find. If we click find, you'll notice that it put a red icon over here. That's where we told it to go look for. In this case, M81. This is where the telescope's at. So this button right here that says slew, if you click on it, the mount will actually start to slew. So now this is a good time to talk about how to zoom into the object. If you hold the shift key down and click the left button on the mouse and draw a box like this, you have the ability to slew right into the object. And I'm going to actually go ahead and slew in a little bit more. And now we have a beautiful photograph of this object. So this is it's kind of a nice, it shows you what the galaxy would look like if you were to take a CCD image of it. You'll also notice that the arrows here are saying east and north. What if I wanted to see this object north up? So under the tools menu, we have this thing called rotate tool. And what that rotate tool does is it allows you to position the telescope to the angle, and you can see the angle changing right here, and we're going to put it as close to 0 as we can. Okay, so now the object is north up. This is kind of useful for people that do CCD imaging or DSLR stuff. Okay, let's get back into normal view. The next thing I want to do is, okay, we want to go to another object, but we don't know what the catalog is. We just know it by name. So if you click this Advanced tab, you'll see all these options. You got Messier catalogs that allow you to jump, and common names. This is about the only time I ever use this feature. And you can type the common name into the find. You can type beehive cluster, for example, and it will find it. Look, black hole, interesting. So beehive, we're looking for the beehive. BE. There it is. Okay, if I double click on it, which is what I did, it'll put it in the find, and it automatically got it ready for us to slew to it. So now we're going to go ahead and slew to it. So the software is very easy to use. It's easy to navigate. There's a lot of features here that I'm not going to go into detail. This is kind of an introductory, quick, short video on how to get from A to B fairly quickly. Now when you're done for the night, you're ready to park. And you can actually go into the icon. It looks like a little car, like a parked car, right? But I'm actually going to go back into the telescope tab, and I'm going to, under the shutdown, you have a park. Now, if this park is disabled, that means there has not been a set park position. And the way to set a park position is to move the telescope where you want it and set it. Now, if you click park, which is what I just did, the telescope will go back in its park position. And this is mainly for stowing purposes more than anything. Once you turn off the power to the mount, you'll need to rehome it anyways. Now, if you don't turn off the power to the mount, there's an option under the startup here to unpark it. So that's always nice to know. Another thing I didn't show you is under the tools, you can actually turn off the tracking and turn on the tracking right here. So for example, if you home the telescope and you don't want it to track, you can go into the tools here and just say turn off tracking. And then when you're ready, you turn it back on. Well, that's about all I have for this video. So you enjoy the day, and be sure to visit Kitt Peak National Observatory and the Visitor Center and look into our nighttime programs.